In Chapter 11 of the Rhetorical Acts textbook, it aimed to provide the building blocks to form our own intelligent judgments for rhetorical acts, such as rating or critiquing a movie. We usually rely on movie critics to give their reviews, such as 5 stars or other rating, like Rotten Tomatoes, other rating measures. But using these standards, we can help create evaluations of our own. It outlines the standards of evaluation to complete essentially the critical process, which is description, interpretation, and evaluation. The standards of evaluation include the artistic standards, such as the aesthetics, or what is aesthetically satisfying, the response standard, or the achieved desired effect, the accuracy standard, which presents the truthful and complete account on the issue or the essential truth, and the moral standard, which is using ethical means in advancing ethically desirable ends for society, or overall just ethics in general. The artistic standard specifically focuses on the means or the ways in which the rhetoric is poetic. It's measuring how skillfully, artistically, creatively, the rhetorical act attempts to alter that perception or create a virtual experience and hold the attention of their viewer. The response standard assumes every rhetorical act must communicate or encourage participation and affect the perceptions or beliefs of their audiences. The accuracy standard measures the reality in rhetorical acts versus the reality of other sources in comparison, finding the overall truth. Finally, the moral standard judges rhetoric whether it helps or harms society and societal harmony or discard, and it also evaluates societal consequences of rhetorical actions, both the purposes and how it's achieved. It is the ethical judgments are subjective, and they require balancing both supporting and opposing evidence, especially considering the opposing evidence and really thoroughly thinking it through and how it relates essentially to the act. Rhetorical evaluations are modified by constraints created by the context or the occasion of the act, and those include competing rhetorical actions, so competing other acts, preceding or subsequent events, so knowing the events before and after can help intentionally modify the act itself, the media of transmission, how it's come across, and the expectations and requirements created by the event, which we already said. These standards and constraints can be seen in the RPC essays of Hewitt and Attic. Hewitt explains the rise in Snapchat stars and how they've built careers off of social media, such as Snapchat. The artistic standard in her essay is that she incorporates direct tweets, like actual physical box, like she copied and pasted the actual tweets and put it in between her paragraphs, making them more interesting to look at and to read, and how it also ties back to her points. The response standard was that she was showing the increasing influence of social media and how people can simply start just making careers out of these, out of just simple profiles and posting posts that essentially everyone does. The accuracy is complete in that her sources are accurate and backed up, and that she credits everything. The moral standard in her arguments is presented through the perspectives of supporting these careers and opposing them. She shows both sides to them, and she thoroughly analyzes each side to get the real truth and ethically moral truth. It describes how the internet has expanded to the point where we are publicly sharing our transactions, making some people feel exposed or violated. The artistic standard is that she uses a lot of exaggeration and examples to really make her points come across and relatable to the reader, and she's painting visually these experiences and making the reader just feel, appreciate her points more. The artistic standard is that she's using a lot of exaggeration and examples that she's either citing or making up that make it more interesting to read, and it also makes it more relatable to the audience. The response is that she was effective in expressing her points and making it relatable to the audience. The accuracy standard was pretty much normal. She used evidence from several sources and examples, like I've already said, and she supported them with her claims and how they all tied back to her main point. The moral standard is shown through her perspective, and that she personally sees that she's not comfortable with sharing these transactions over apps such as Venmo, where anyone can really track relationships and see where people are putting their money. And she kind of views these as more private sectors in people's lives. Overall, looking at these standards when evaluating rhetorical acts helps people create their own judgments and distinguish the real credible acts from the non-ones.